Hi everybody, thanks for coming to my channel. I'm going to do a walkthrough of my Cottontail mini album, and following the walkthrough will be a tutorial. This is a real easy book for beginners. This paper line is called Cottontail by Authentique, and you can get it at countrycraftcreations.com. The book measures it ends up being about 5 1/4 by 9, and it has a 1 1/2 inch spine. And there's the back. This paper is super cute. Now when you make the hat, you want to be careful that you don't make this too long, that when you open the book it won't open. And so I'm going to lay the book a little bit flatter with the new way to wrap your chipboard. I just left a place for a picture here and put a little sentiment down at the bottom. All of the pages are the same, so I have some enamel dots here and here. This page has the eggs that I cut out and just put a cut apart, and then there's a place for a picture in the rest of the spots. So all of these are pretty much open for pictures, and then these are all left open for slide-ins, and the pages stay closed well enough that I didn't need to do a magnet. So on the back on all of them there is a belly band with some decorative elements. And we have a pull out here. Oopsie, I gotta glue that down. That opens so that you have 4 pictures here. And you turn it the other way and you can get 4 pictures there. And then that just slides right back in. Like so. And then all the other this is only a 3-page book. And the other pages do exactly the same thing. And here's the pull-out on this one. That paper's so cute. Okay. Just putting it in upside down. And the last page, the eggs cut apart, enamel dots, some of the punch-outs. And back page, picture, place for journaling. Four pictures here, and open it the other direction and you get 4 pictures there. So this book took about 1 day to make. I put that in upside down. It takes about 1 day to make. And I think the results are cute. I say throughout the tutorial, I don't usually have a ton of pictures for Easter, so this will be perfect. If I count real quick, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 4 and 3 20, it'll probably hold about 50 or more pictures, so that'll be perfect. So if you are interested, this is a design team project for countrycraftcreations.com. The tutorial is going to follow. I'll show you how to wrap the chipboard for the cover, the page design, and I will give you the measurements in the video also. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. For this album, I'm going to use Tammy's easy wrap method that she came up with to kind of help ladies who maybe their hands have a little arthritis or something. So she has a video out on this too, but I'll just go ahead and use her idea on this album. Once you use it, you might not go back to the other way of wrapping. This album is going to require 1 piece of chipboard that is 1 1/2 by 9, and that's going to be the spine. 2 that are 5 by 9, those are the covers, and then 1 that's 1 by 9, and that's going to end up being the hat brim for the rabbit. The cardstock that we're going to use to wrap, now we wrap these individually, so 2 at 7 by 11, so you go 1 inch on each side of the chipboard, and 1 at 3 1/2 by 11, that's for the spine, and then 1 that's 2 1/2 by 10 1/2. I wanted it a little bit smaller because being it's only 1 inch, I don't need a full inch to cover. I went more like 3/4 of an inch. So Go ahead and prep your chipboard by putting your adhesive on the back. These are the score sheets that you can get at Country Craft Creations. I have my paper cut. Now I did already wrap one cover, and you'll notice that you wrap it separate. And so we're going to combine 3 separate pieces, and let me show you how you wrap. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the cover. And like I said, you want to go ahead and put your adhesive on the back. I still use score tape for that. I use the art glitter glue for a lot of the things. And I'm just going to place my ruler so that I can see where 1 inch is. So I can go 1 inch in and 1 inch up. I'm going to go ahead and remove the backing. And we'll just lay that down. Now I'm also going to cut my miter my corners a little bit different. I'm trying to use a different method, but I don't know, sometimes I don't. Tammy uses this method also. You can learn a lot from Tammy Merrill, but I sometimes still struggle with chipboard showing when I do it the other technique that I'm going to show you. So maybe it's just a flaw in the way I'm doing it. But she never has a problem with any of the corners showing. I usually use this tool to miter my corners, and I never have a problem. But let's see if I can get this to work the way she likes to do it. So now that I have that on my paper, I'm going to go ahead and run some score tape along the perimeter of my chipboard, just like always. And I'm just using 1/4 inch. And I'm going to go all the way around the perimeter. Okay. Now I'm not going to put the score tape on until I cut my corners, just because I want to save I don't want to waste any. And then you just might want to adhere that by giving it a burnish so that it sticks real well. Now what I do then is I just lift up my piece of chipboard and I bend it so it gets the proper fold. And it kind of trains the paper. And then I'm just going to go ahead and use up my burnishing tool to get it to lay a little bit flatter. And I do like to run it around the edge too. And I'm going to do that to all 4 sides. The smoother your cover, the nicer it looks. And I'll do the 2 short ends. And by doing this, you're going to get a square in the corners, and that's what we're going to work with. Instead of cutting it at an angle, we're going to cut out squares. Okay. So you're going to want to take your scissors, and there are squares that are formed from where the creases meet. And we're just going to cut out that square. So go ahead and cut it to the corner of the chipboard on each side. Okay? And take out that square. Do that on all 4 corners. And then we're going to work with making sure there's no overlap of paper, any weird corners. We're going to make sure we trim everything up nice and neat. The cover's the first thing they see, so you want to make sure that you do your best work on the cover, that everything lays flat and nice. That's why these score sheets are so nice, because your paper lays so flat. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and look at the corner. I'm going to fold this over, and I'm going to look to see if I need to trim, and I do, because it's hanging over a little bit. And so you rest your scissors on your chipboard and just cut at a slight angle. And then you're going to want to look at the other side too. You're going to have to flip it over, and it does hang over just a hair. It's not nice and even, so I'm going to rest my scissors on the chipboard and cut at an angle. And you want to do that to all 4 corners. And just go back and forth. And then this side too. So once you have a slight miter, or you know, the to where you cut out the squares, now I'm going to go ahead and put my score tape along the edge of my wrap or my cardstock. Now I'm just showing one on camera. I already did the other one, so you'll be doing this twice. See? Okay. And you don't have to use 1/4 inch score tape. You can use a different measurement if you want. And some people just use the art glitter glue too, so it's whatever. I used to use that red line stuff. Oh, so glad I quit using that. I got so tired of cutting, and then that red stuff would stick to me. The static was terrible. Oh, I might need a new roll. I'm out of the 1/4, so, but I always have some on in my store or in my stash, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure this is on real well. I usually do the longer sides first. So what I'm going to do is take off the adhesive backing on the long side here, and I am going to lift up these sides because when you fold the paper over, that'll get in the way. Come on. Alright, so I like to run a line of glue up against the chipboard, and that's going to make your paper stick nice and have a real crisp corner. And then I do fill in this extra space with glue, like so. And I'm just going to fold that over, a tight fit there, push down real well, and then you're going to want to get your mitering tool, not mitering, your burnishing tool, and just give it a good burnish. Get rid of any excess glue that's coming out. Run it up against the side. Okay, let's repeat that on the other long side. And get the backing off here. Bead of glue. You get to the point where you make so many covers that it goes very fast. Used to be that it took me forever, but I think I'm becoming a pro at these covers. Okay, let's go ahead and burnish. I think burnishing is one of the most important things, just to make sure you have everything nice and smooth and neat. Okay, so now it's time to do the short ends. Nothing is different on those ends. Oh yeah, I do have glue there. Never mind. Last time I forgot to put on the other cover, I forgot to put my score tape on the short side, so I had to put it on top, but I remembered this time. Let's go ahead and put, oh, I just dropped my pin for my glue. Oh, I better, oh, I see it, hold on. It's on the floor. Where'd it go? Okay, sorry about that. If I don't pick it up now, I'll never find it. Okay, go ahead and fold that over. So let's see how I did on these corners, because we don't want any chipboard showing. Okay, so if you notice, there's no chipboard showing through, and that's what you want. No show. Okay. Oopsie, it's time for, I ran out of score tape and glue all at the same time. Let's go ahead and take this off. Fold her over. And burnish. Do the edges too. Alright, and once again, there is no chipboard showing, so I did it. On my other piece, I'm not going to lie, I have a little, I think I cut too severely. Now you can barely see the chipboard, Let me see, let me focus this real quick. See that? You can see a little bit of chipboard. Oh, that's gonna drive me crazy, but it's not so horrible that I have to redo it. Alright, so we have our front and back cover done. And now we are going to do the spine exactly the same way. So that's your 1.5 inch piece with your 3.5 inch paper. So do it exactly this, oh well, not exactly the same way, so don't work ahead if you've never done it this way before. We are going to go ahead and glue this down. We don't end up folding the long sides over. So when I said we do it exactly the same, that was a bit bull-faced lie. Sorry about that, I wasn't even thinking. So let's go ahead and remove our backing, and we're going to place it on the white paper. Now the paper collection again is called Cottontail. It's the Easter collection by Authentique this year. It's super cute. I've gone to Tuesday morning to find some like little rabbit figurines and stuff to set by my books that I'm making. I made I took a regular book and cut a square out of the center of the pages, and then I decorated that with the Cottontail paper. It turned out really cute, so that I could store stuff. Maybe I'll show you at the end of this video, maybe, so that you know what I'm talking about. Okay, let's get our ruler. Again, you want a 1 inch border. So I'm going to place this like so. And I'm just going to place this. Oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. Ugh! Yowza. I thought I did it the other way. Okay. And let's place that 1 inch in. And it looks like I didn't do it evenly, but it'll be alright. I hate it when I start making mistakes, because then it seems like it's one right after the other. So hopefully I didn't just jinx myself. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and fold over our paper and burnish. Okay. On both ends here. Now, normally this paper does not split, but because it's winter and it's super dry here in Nebraska, I have a feeling that's why it kind of split. Just didn't split, but it looks like feathery, and I don't like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the sides also, the long sides. Just like, so far it's just like the other one. Okay. Alright, so now that we have the squares in the corner, we're not going to cut out the squares. We're going to take the square and cut it at a diagonal from one corner to the opposite corner, like so, taking off a triangle. Do that to all four corners. Don't take off the full square, just cut from one end to the other to form an angle. And like so. Okay. So we are going to fold the short ends up and down. Okay, so, but we're going to leave these sides open. We're not going to fold those over. So let's see if I have enough glue here, or if I have to open another bottle. Maybe I can get enough out. And I'm just using the glue on this instead of any score tape. It's the short end. Okay, let's fold this over. Press down. Okay, and let's do the other side. Okay. So I'm putting glue on that whole trapezoid on the corner, that whole end piece. Folding it over and burnishing. So now we want to do some creasing and burnishing of the paper so that it works better for us. So I'm going to take one of my bone folders, and which one do I want? I have many to choose from. Are you guys like me and have about 6 different ones? Yeah, I want this one. And let's just go ahead and crease this. And crease here. And now you can fold this back so that you can get a nice crease here also. Now this is the artisan cardstock from Country Craft Creation, so it's a linen base, and so it's real sturdy and strong. So if you're not using this paper, just make sure you're not digging too deep with your bone folder so that your paper rips. Okay, now just like we angled the corners of our the covers, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to take a slight tapering on the edges here. So just a slight taper. We're going to rest our scissors up against the chipboard like so. I did not take off very much at all. And we're going to do that to all 4 corners. I'm going to turn this side over, and one last corner. Okay, so there is our spine, and this is going to attach. Get the scraps out of the way. We're going to attach this to our covers. Okay, and it's going to be the spine is going to be laying on top so that the wings go to the inside like so, but to glue it we're going to flip it over. So let me show you. These go over, these go over. I'm going to place glue in here. No, I'm sorry, glue on the outside, and then I'm going to place this on top. Glue on this outside flap, place this on top. Okay, so let's do one at a time. Now I usually do, when I do the covering the traditional way, I leave a 1/4 inch border between my chipboard pieces, and you don't have to do that with this one. And another benefit of this book is it's going to lay flat. It's like a miracle. I don't know how it does it. Okay, I'm not going to scrimp on the glue. I want to make sure it's okay. So now I'm just going to butt this up against, and it's the same height, same length. Oopsie. And I'm just going to make sure it's lined up like so. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to burnish it. Make sure that's got a real strong hold. Okay, and then this will be covered with other paper, so that's okay that this isn't exactly the same measurement. Back over, and now we're going to place glue on this flap and place this piece on top. So you can see now it looks like a book. And look, come on glue, don't fail me now. I think there's enough for this last flap. And like I said, I want to make sure I put plenty of adhesive on. This is really strong glue. I say this on a lot of my videos, but I never thought I'd be a wet glue person. I always thought I'd be a score tape person for everything. Okay, now there is a little bit of a ridge, and that's normal. That's not going to affect anything. So I'm going to flip that back over and push down. Okay, and there is our book. Okay, you want to let it dry a little bit more, so I'm going to hold off on that. Now, the last thing is I'm going to cover this 1-inch piece, and I'm going to do that. That's going to end up being the hat piece to make it look like the rabbit is wearing a hat. So I'm going to cover it just like I did the cover pieces, and I will put a piece, after I cover it, I'll put a piece of white on the back, because you might be able to see it from the back. You'll see the pieces come out, so I'll be putting white paper behind it. So I'll go ahead and wrap that one off camera, and I'll be back when I have that done. I went ahead and put in a piece of white over the spine on the inside. Just make sure you put a lot of adhesive on the back of that piece, and I just took a random piece that I had, so yours can be any width that you want. Mine was about 3.5, so 3.5 by 8 7/8 is what I did. So I'm going to go ahead and start the cover, and the page designs I'll do here in just a second, but here's that piece that I covered, and I went ahead and put the brown paper on the front and the back so that when you can see it from the back, it'll still be brown. And I'm going to go ahead and do the hat here on the spine and on the back. So I cut my papers 4 7/8 by 4, like so. And then I kind of wanted my rabbit to be like whimsical, so I didn't want the ears to be like 100% perfect, so I just did it freehand. And I just, I just did it freehand. So I'm going to combine those and just kind of put them off to the side here, and then I'll put this at an angle, and then I'll put the face on below. So that's the next step, is to go ahead and adhere this piece. You'll put the ears on, and then you'll put this. Just do some measuring to make sure that you don't see the ears coming out from the bottom here. And I want my brim kind of at an angle, like so. All right, so that's going to be next, and then I'm going to go ahead and place my pattern paper that I want on the inside, and I'll go 4 7/8 by 8 7/8 on those pieces. And then we'll do the spine, or the hinge piece, and the page design. So that's what's going to be next. This is what I have done so far with my cover. I've had to work at it a little bit because I am not a painter, and sometimes I don't know some of the tips and tricks when it comes to this stuff. So I have gotten some helpful information from some people, but I just had a punch. It was a old Stampin' Up punch for a bird, and I used the wing that came from that punch as the eyes, and then I just took my marker and did a little bit of eyelashes on the bottom and on the top. It's kind of hard to see because of the big flower arrangement I put on the top. I had a heart punch that I used, and then I just took a black pen and went around and made a little bit of lines and dots. Now the line here, originally I just had a line, and it looked so sad, and I did the whiskers by hand, and I just did like, ooh, you know, just fling. But somebody said I should have done them straight, and I probably should have, but so then I had to add a little, like, some of a smile U shape down here, and now it doesn't look as sad, but it was looking pretty sad before. And then I had some ink, and I took a dauber and just went around and around, and there is some white specks in there, but it's kind of hard to see. Maybe at that angle you can see it. And then I just put this flower arrangement on. I just made this flower, and then I have some pearls coming up here. On the side, I ended up adding some rabbit paper on the back, and then I put a middle piece. I thought it was too boring just having it white on the side and the back also. Here's the paper I chose for the inside. I am going to leave the covers kind of empty, and I'm going to just put a mat for a picture, And then I just took a piece of white and put some of the designer paper, the decorative paper on there. And I'll probably just put a bow right here. And then this can be for journaling. I could add something there, and then that will be for the picture. And I'm going to do the same thing on the back. I don't have a whole lot of Easter pictures, so my book does not have to be that large. So this will be my front and back cover. Okay. It is time to do the hinge. And here's, you might want to freeze the camera or the video if you want to get these measurements down. The hinge that I'm using, the paper was 6 by 8 3/4, and here are the score marks. I'm going to wrap around the hinge so that it doesn't have the wings coming off the side. And so I took my, well, I'll just show you. So you're going to put the 6-inch across the top, and you're going to score at 1 inch, 1 1/4 inches, 1 3/4, 2 1/4, 2 3/4, 3 1/4, 3 3/4, 4 1/4, 4 3/4, 5 1/4. So those are all 1/2 inch increments. And then after 5 1/4, just do 5 1/2, and then that remainder will be what you tuck under. So we're going to glue the hinge, and then when we're done, it's going to wrap around so it'll be smaller. Okay. So let me get, so you want to burnish your score marks, okay? And I'm going to refer to these sections with numbers. So the side that we scored at 1 inch is on my left-hand side, and that's going to be piece number 1. Then we have a 1/4 inch space, that's 2. So we're going to take sections 3 and 4 together, and we're going to glue those together. And I am just going to use the art glitter glue. I used to use score tape, but now I use the glue. So this will make our first hinge, and I'm going to squeeze that together, and I'll go ahead and push down real well so it sticks. Now let me take a look in the back. Yep, looks good. Okay, so again, the 1 inch on the left, we just took care of, combined section 3 and 4 together. Section 5 is going to be your gusset, so we're going to take section 6 and 7 and glue those together. So 6 and 7 are next. And push those together. And I'm going to burnish that real well. Okay, so that was pieces 6 and 7. We're going to leave 8 as the gusset, and we're going to glue 9 and 10 together. Okay. Burnish real well. Oh, got the glue coming out. So because this is 8 3/4, I'm going to make my pages 8 7/8 so that I don't have to trim the edges, and it'll sit nicely on my hinges without any problem. It'll slide on real easily. Okay, so then you'll notice we have that 1/4 inch, and then it's a little over a 1/2 inch. So we're going to leave 1/4 inch on each side and just take the extra and glue it on the back like so. So those 2 extra pieces at the end. Don't glue back the 1/4 inch. We're leaving that on the sides. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'll glue the short piece first. Okay, and I'm just going to tuck that over. and burnish that. I say burnish, I'm using my finger, but that'll work to make sure it sticks too. All right. And now we're going to adhere that last 1-inch strip to the back. Not that 1/4 inch piece. Okay, let's fold that over. And burnish that so it sticks. We want to make sure it's even. Okay, and that's the perfect. The back looks perfect. Ooh, maybe not too bad. So there is the hinge system, and we're going to glue that into our book. So you can either use score tape or you can use glue, and it's going to go right here in the center of our spine. Okay, and then now we're going to get ready for the pages. Here are the measurements for the base pages and the flaps and all that kind of good stuff. Again, you might want to pause and write this down. I don't type it up in the description box. It's faster for me to do it this way. So the base pages are 3 of them at 4.5 by 9 7/8, and then 3 at 4.5 by 8 7/8. Now I did not include inserts if you want to put like mats inside of your main page. So belly bands, there's going to be 3 of them at 1.5 by 9 7/8. The inserts that will go behind the belly bands, there's 6 at 4 by 12 and 6 at 4 by 8. The flaps for the other side of the base page, you need 6 at 4 15/16 by 4.5. I know 15/16 aren't fun, but that's what worked the best. And then 3 at 4 3/4 by 6.5. And if you choose to put an envelope on the belly band, I used the 3.5 by 6 pattern on the punch board, and it said to use 8 by 8 paper. And I'm just going to use pattern paper for that. I'm not going to use the white, so that'll save a little bit of paper. Okay, so those are the measurements. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start with the pieces that are 4.5 by 9 7/8, and then there's the ones that are 4.5 by 8 7/8. So the one that's 9 7/8, put the 9 7/8 inch side across the top, score at 1/2, and score at 1/2 on each end. Let's burnish those. And then we're going to place the 8 7/8 inch tall one on top, like so. Just make sure you kind of eyeball it and make sure it lines up okay. We might have to do a little bit of trimming if we don't get it on straight. Art glitter glue, I do one side at a time. And I'll just lean that up against. Press down and burnish. Okay. And then this should lay down perfectly if we do it right. Okay, so this is what gets attached to the hinge. So one side will be on the hinge, and then this is the one. I didn't give you a measurement for a mat, but if you want to put something inside there, you'll be able to do that. Okay. All right. Next, let's go ahead and do, so this is the front, and you're going to need the pieces that were 4 and 15/16 by 4.5. You'll need 2 of them for each page, and then one that's 4 3/4 by 6.5. One of those for each page. We'll have to do some scoring. So put the 4 and 15/16 side across your scoreboard and score it 1/2. Do that to both pieces. It's the 4 and 15/16 that goes across the top, and 1/2. The one that measures 4.5 by 6, 4 3/4 by 6.5. Place the 4 3/4 inches across the top, and we are going to score at 4 and 4 1/4. 4 and 4 1/4. That gives us a little bit of wiggle room when we put the flaps down. Let's go ahead and do the belly band also, and that's the 9 7/8 inch side across the top, and do a 1/2 inch on each end. Alrighty, time to burnish. You can do that as you go or all up front. I'm going to go ahead and do them all up front right now. So see, that gives us a little bit, I know you can't see with the lighting, that gives us just a little bit of space so that if there's some thickness, your flap won't buckle. Now I did use a punch on the corner of my flaps, so I'm going to do that now. Okay, so I just used this punch I had in my supply, and it's just stick this this one I have to eyeball a little bit, and I'll have to trim the edges. You can use any kind of decorative punch, or you can use a corner rounder, or you don't need to use anything. It's totally up to what you like. I just thought, let's do something different. Okay, do that on the next one also. These are the ones that measured 4 and 15/16. Trim off that edge. And I think I've had that punch forever, and this is the first time I've used it. Okay, scraps get thrown. All right. Let's go ahead and start. Again, this is going to be our front. I'm going to place this on, now this is 6 inches, and I'm just going to center it, Now you can, I'm going to turn it sideways, it's easier to glue, but you can measure if you want. I'm eyeballing. And I'm going to put glue on the 1/2 inch strip. And all the way to the edge. Looks close enough to me. Go ahead and burnish that down. So again, you'll have a little bit of room, like so. With your flap opening to the right, we're going to put on the bottom and top flaps. They should meet just perfectly in the center. Make sure when you put them on that you line it up on the sides also. I got a little bit too much glue, I'll have to clean that up. So place it down at the bottom all the way to the edge and check that it's lining up on your left hand side before you adhere it all the way. And I'm going to turn it upside down, do the other side. All the way to the end, and watch your right hand side. Make sure it lines up. And let's see if they meet. Yep, perfect. Now you can choose to put a magnet here to keep this closed if you want. I don't think I'm going to. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to put a magnet this time. I'll try and weight it down. Okay, so then on the back, I'm going to go ahead and open up this flap so it's easier for me to glue. We're going to place our belly band in the center. You might want to check to make sure it's the right length. Sometimes when I burnish it, I don't know, I need to just go over a hair. It looked a hair long to me. Like literally a hair. That should work. So glue on the 1/2 inch 1/2 inch thingamabobber. I can't think of the word. Okay, all the way to the bottom and center it. Again, you can actually measure the center. I'm eyeballing it. Okay, turn it upside down so I can see the other side. Yeah, that does look a hair long. I need to crease this just a hair. I could score it, but all right. And go ahead and burnish everything. And that's all we're doing for the pages. Like I said, Easter I don't have a ton of pictures, so I don't need a ton of space. Now we're going to have an insert to tuck in behind here and also an envelope. So here is my template for my envelope. And you can use a pre-made one if you want. This is the one with the punch board, but I want something to tuck underneath too. So measurement wise, I had to make this work. So I know it might look a little bit funky compared to what you've done in the past if you've made these before, but because the paper's only 12 inches, I wanted this to be about 8 inches long. So when I used my 12-inch paper, it was too short. It didn't, there was too much space on the top and the bottom of the belly band. So I'm going to show you, I just extended the top and bottom pieces a little bit so that it would look better underneath, and it looks like it belongs there and it's not just some little tiny floating paper. So okay, so for that, oops, excuse me, you need 2 pieces that are 4 by 12 and 2 that are 4 by 8. And we're going to start with the 4 by 12s, and we need to score those. We're going to score them both the same. So you're going to score it 3, 6, and 9. 3, 6, and 9. Go ahead and do that to the other one. 3, 6, and 9. Okay, now you don't need to score the other pieces, the 8-inch ones. So next, what you're going to do is we need to find the halfway mark on the end panels. So at the score mark, I'm going to find the halfway, which is 2 inches. I'm going to put a little mark. So I'm just going to lay my ruler down, take my pencil, and just put a little mark at the 2-inch mark on that side. I made it really small. And then on this side, lay my ruler down on the last panel, mark it 2 inches. Tiny pencil mark. Okay, so looking at, oh, I might as well do the other one too. You're going to do that to both pieces. Two inches. And on the other side. Okay. So you are going to take your scissors and cut up to that 2-inch mark. Straight up to the 2-inch mark. And do that on the other side too. Cut on the score line up to that 2-inch pencil mark. Do that to the other piece also. Okay, now let's do some scoring or burnishing. So we're going to fold these in to the center. Make sure they line up well. Okay, and I'm just going to take the middle one and bring it up like a mountain. And I just want to make sure that that is really the halfway mark. Look at the ends here. You might have to readjust. Okay, and same way over here. Let's fold these in. Make sure everything lines up well. Okay, and let's go ahead and make sure that this is the halfway mark. Let's line everything up. And burnish that halfway. Okay, so now we're going to interlock the 2 pieces. So take your 2 cut pieces and slide one into the other. And you want to make sure that this goes all the way to the bottom. And if it doesn't, you'll need to make sure you just snip it just a hair to make sure that they line up. Okay, so that slides all the way through, and then we're going to do the same thing on this one. Have the 2 cuts, line them up. Okay, so you now have interlocking papers. We're going to take the 2 center pieces and pull them out. Now we have some straightening to do. Just make sure everything is as square as possible. Okay, so flap, flap, and on the other side, flap, and flap. Okay, so now we're going to take our 8-inch pieces, and I'm just going to make a mark at the 1 inch so I can center these. So I should have an inch on each end when I glue the 6-inch piece on top. So I'll just mark the 1 inch on one end, and that should do the trick. Okay, so we're going to place glue on our interlocking piece. And this is going to get glued to that 8-inch. I say that if I can get my glue out. All right. I'm going to place it on my 1-inch pencil marks. Make sure it's lined up evenly on the sides, like here and here. Make sure you don't have any overlap or anything hanging over. They should be perfectly matching. Turn that over and burnish. Okay, so we're going to glue these down so the 2 flaps get the glue. Okay, and take your 8-inch piece, now line it up with the bottom piece so that it lines up perfectly. And I'm just going to bring it up and make sure everything's lined up. And burnish again. Alright, so then you can lift up and see some pictures, and then if you turn it the other way you can lift up and have some pictures. So now it's just time for you to put on your pattern paper. Some people like to go 1/8 of an inch smaller, some go 1/4 of an inch smaller. I'll come back and actually the envelope I'm not going to show you, just because some of you have a punch board, some of you don't. Some of you, if you have a punch board, probably know how to use it. And some of you might use pre-made envelopes. So I'm just going to go ahead and do my decorating, and then I'll put it on the hinge. I'll show you how to put it on the hinge, and then we'll take a look at it. I ended up making a few changes from my original idea because I did run out of the paper. So I was going to do an envelope on the back here, and I had to nix that. So I just thought I'd show you the individual pages real quick. So I cut out some Easter eggs and have a bow and some of these acrylic enamel dots, and then it just opens, and I left these open for pictures, so I did not put any paper here. And then these are all open, and then on the back I just cut out the centerpiece here of the cut apart, and then these open up so that you can put some pictures in this way and this way, and then those just tuck right behind here. Alrighty, the next one looks like this, and they all open the same way. I didn't put any magnets in. And this side has a cutout of the Easter egg. I put the acrylic daisies that came in my design team box. Opens up this way and this way. And one more, same idea. So I did a lot of repetition on this book. It was easy, so it's a good beginner book. And then voila, and voila. So now it's time to put the pages in the book. And so let's get, oops, that's upside down. I think I'm going to take these out before I put them in on the spine. Let's bulk that way. Okay, now I'm going to use glue. Okay, so let's get our book, and we want to put the spine or the hinge in this opening. And so I'm going to turn the book sideways, and I'll put glue on both sides here of this hinge, and then I will slide this on. You want to do a dry run first to make sure that it fits. Okay, so let's go ahead and get that started. It helps when the glue comes out. There we go. And on this side too. Open up your page, slide it on. And push together. Like so. And I like to bend it, move it forward and back. And we're going to continue to do that. Make sure, do a dry run first. Make sure that it fits. And it does. Put your glue on your hinge. On both sides. And scoot that on. Get that in there. There we go. And let's push that back and forth, or squeeze it together. Like so. Okie dokie, just one more. And alrighty. Perfect, that one went on easy. Alrighty, and then I'll just go back in and put the inserts in, and then you've got your book. If you have any questions, let me know. Like I said, the original plan was to have envelopes here to stuff things in, but that didn't work out because of the amount of paper I had, but I think it still turned out pretty cute. I like the rabbit turned out to be a little happier than what I originally had. I didn't have this U thing here, and it was kind of scary, and I still need to put some white on the eyes to bring those out, but otherwise that's it. That was called, the paper again was Cottontail, and that's by Authentique, and you can get it from countrycraftcreations.com. And I hope all of you enjoyed the video, and I hope you make one and show us what it looks like on the Facebook page of Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations. Have a good one.